This is the Doctor, President-elect of the High Council of Time Lords.
I am definitely a madman with a box.
Anyone for jelly, baby?
I'm the Doctor. I'm 904 years old. I'm from the planet Gallifrey in the constellation of Castobrus.
Hey Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And we're at episode 67.
Woo!
Woo!
Fast approaching the big 7-0.
The big 7-0. Life starts at 70.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Let's hope so.
Maybe the podcast will start getting good at 70.
Oh, don't say that.
Ah. Hope you guys have had a cracking week. And what a strange, interesting, and lots of other words that I don't want to use right now in a podcast to describe Heaven Sent that was on last Saturday.
Yeah. Well, definitely, I think interesting is a good word.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, God, yeah. Going to be fun to chat through this one.
Indeedy. So, you been up to anything, buddy?
I have had my finger poised over a add to basket button all week for the, but I still haven't bought it, for the confession dial. For Rubbertoe.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I'm really kicking myself for not getting one at the festival.
Mm-hmm.
And also the Siege Mode TARDIS, which you bought at the festival.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because having watched Heaven Sent, I just really want one now. I feel my shelf needs it. And I got as close to getting right the way up to pay now. And then suddenly VAT in that gets added on. It suddenly jumped up in price. So it's $49.95, I think, or $49.99. Then there's £5 postage, fair enough. And then you go all the way through the checkout and all that. And then it suddenly adds on VAT, I think it is. And it's like £10. So it suddenly jumps up to 64 quid. Which kind of put me off. Because 50, I was going to treat myself. But 64, it just seemed like I suddenly was thinking, I wish I... Because I don't think it was that much at the festival. I don't know if you can remember, but...
I don't
pretty
think
sure
so.
It wasn't that much. So yeah, I'm kind of kicking myself for not getting one. But I keep looking at it and I really want one, but I just don't really want to pay that much for it. So yeah, I've been looking at that all week and I've been wanting that Siege Mode TARDIS and that you've got. I bet it looks great on your shelf.
It looks very good.
Yeah,
on the old shelf. Yeah.
So I've consolidated myself by spending the rest of the week just tidying up my shelf. Actually, I've been really sort of hooing it up, much to my partner's disgust. I've really tidied up my shelf, and I've got all my Daleks on it now. I've got my Sonic remotes on there. I've got my Doctor Who books in the background. I've really jazzed it up and whoified it, and I'm really pleased because I just sit in bed now looking at my Doctor Who shelf, feeling very proud of myself. And as I say, my other half just looks at it feeling physically sick. It's just, I think it was described as like a teenager's bedroom or something. And I was like, no, it's cool. So I don't know how long it'll stay, but I'm pleased with it. So yeah, that's what I've been spending my week doing. What have you been up to?
I've also had my finger hovering over a purchase button, and I'm not too sure. I only saw it this morning. I don't know if it's been out since then, but the US store GameStop, which predominantly do video games and stuff. They've got a limited edition 10th Doctor regeneration Pop Funko.
Oh yeah,
it's a glow in the dark, and he's got the outfit on, the Eccleston outfit.
Yes,
and it's glow in the dark.
So this is so where's this exclusive to where?
This is GameStop.
GameStop. Oh right.
Yes, and I know what you're up to.
No, I've already seen it.
I can hear the mic like drifting away because you're going to get a piece of paper.
Yeah, I'm just making it. No,
so where? Hold on.
It's the first thing I saw this morning. One of our listeners obviously knows us too well.
Yeah.
And sent me a thing to it on Instagram and said, you're like this. Richard Doogie, by the way. Hello, Richard. Yeah, he sent me a thing this morning. So it's the first thing I saw pretty much when I woke up. And I was like, oh, wow, what is it? But it wasn't actually the website, so I didn't know that to now. So I'll just make a sneaky note of that. But yeah, it does look good. I mean, I do like the Funko Pops, as you know. And yeah, I'm very tempted for this. I don't know, is it got a price? What sort of price is it?
Well, with shipping, I think it's about 25 quid. Or about £20, I think, with the shipping, because I think they put on $15 worth of shipping to the UK.
Yeah.
And I think when you convert it, it's probably around £18-20, something like that. But
So
it does look really cool.
Do you think it's one that'll end up on FP International
Ooh.
or not? Because sometimes they get them.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We're relying on you guys to let us know.
Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah, because thanks to Helen Jones as well, another listener that sent us a Facebook post earlier this week about she'd contacted, was it Titans or about the TARDIS with the mural? Because I mentioned it last podcast, and they were thinking about, actually it might have been Rubbertoe, I think.
It was Rubbertoe, yes.
Yeah, and they were saying, oh, we're thinking about it. So thanks for letting us know, Helen, because I think you said something like, I'd be all over it like a rash, and you're not wrong. I certainly would.
And we do really appreciate it when you guys let us know, because we do like the odd collectible. And I think the last time, remember I had that kerfuffle with FP International where there was a problem with the order with the Capaldi spacesuit.
Oh, yeah.
Pop Funko. And I thought it was lost forever, but one of our listeners jumped up and said it's back in stock. So I jumped on and ordered it. So
I think that was Helen again, actually.
Was it Helen?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
And my mum asked me the other day, what do you want for Christmas? And you can never think, can you, when people ask? I was thinking there's loads of stuff I want.
Yeah.
But also a lot of the stuff that sort of me and you would get or collect is it's not something they can really get from the shops, is it? And, I always sort of say to my mum, well, there's this confession dial I want. She just looks at me like, what?
Yeah.
And it's a company called Rubbertoe. And you just sort of think, I'll forget it. I'll get it myself. It's just like, sometimes it's just easier. But there are lots of bits and bobs out there that, I'd like to get my grubby little hands on. Don't know if Santa will bring them or not, but yeah.
Yeah, indeedy. But yeah, I've kind of had the same thing with you as shelves. I really need to sort my bookcase out. It's just littered with just Funkos and books and stuff, and now a Siege Mode TARDIS, and it's just, it does need sorting out.
It soon adds up, doesn't it? I mean, that's what I was thinking about my shelf. It was just wall-to-wall Funkos. It looked an absolute mess. And it's funny because every now and again we'll be flicking through the channels and there'll be one of these programs about hoarders and all the stuff. And it seems every time we sort of stop to watch one, me and my other half, there's always a Doctor. They always focus on a Doctor Who toy, and I get a finger pointed at me, like, "Yeah, see, that's you. That is." And I'm like, "No."
It's always. I know what you mean, mate.
It's kind of true, but it does start to take over your life. Yeah,
it does.
It does, and I've already got my eye on lots of stuff I want next year, especially after going to the festival. Like, I am absolutely in love with these Robert Thorpe Doctor Who figurines. These I've just absolutely fallen in love with them, especially seeing the ones that they had on display there that they haven't got on the website yet.
Oh, the Yeti was cool.
Yeti was brilliant, and there was that snowman thing from the Matt Smith story, which just looked brilliant. Actually. It's not something I would have really thought I'd want, but seeing it there, it just looks so good. And Zygon, and I've decided to sort of stop buying things that are a bit, quite kind of what I'm thinking. No, I really love these, and I'm going to save up and get some next year because I think they're great. So
they do look really good.
Yeah, I want that TARDIS. I mean, I know they've done the Pertwee figure, and it's coming for a bit of stick because the face isn't quite right on it. But there's sort of a charm about it. It sort of reminds me of the old Doctor Who memorabilia that you sort of used to get, way back when. That wasn't quite right, but you knew. You know what I mean? It sort of it's got a nostalgicness about it. So I'm loving it. That's what I'm going to be hopefully getting a lot of next year. That's what I'm going to be saving my pennies for.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they had a classic TARDIS as well. That looked really good.
That's top of my list.
Yeah.
That was also the other thing I've had my finger poised over the button over this week was the confession dial and TARDIS. They're the two things I wanted to get. Unfortunately, I looked at my credit card bill and decided I'm going to have to get them in the new year. But yeah, they're the two things I really want to get. So anyway, I'll ask Santa. Maybe I've been good this year. I can't remember, but maybe I've been good and Santa will bring me something.
Maybe.
I don't think you can quite afford that TARDIS, but you never know.
Well, the postman will have it anyway.
Oh, gosh.
Tell them. Go on, tell them.
Well, I think anyone who's listened to sort of Freaks
This is a cracker.
Yeah, this is a crack. Anyone who's listened to previous podcasts knows that I've had quite a lot of trouble with posts going missing and lost and stuff. And I've been waiting for a couple of Funkos to turn up. They're Sherlock ones, exclusive ones. So there's one of him holding a skull and one of him in the deerstalker hat. And they're very cool and quite limited. And yeah, they sort of hadn't turned up, but they hadn't been waiting that long. And I came home on Saturday and there wasn't any sign of them, but my Doctor Who Titans comic had turned up and had been folded in half and shoved in the letterbox. So that infuriated me. And then on the Sunday, I was just sat having my breakfast and I looked out and in the hedge, I thought I could see a box. And I was thinking, no, it can't be a box up there, can there? Anyway, sure enough, I went down to the wall and the gate, the front of my house, and the postman had obviously thrown it over on the Saturday, just thrown it over the wall, and it got stuck in the hedge and had been there all night, got absolutely drenched because it beat down with rain. And so I wasn't very pleased. I opened it up and there was just dragged out these two soaking wet Funko Pops. All the boxes were all crinkly and ruined, and they sat by the fire for literally hours to dry out. So they're all nice and crinkly and ruined now. But it's just, I just couldn't believe it. When I looked out, I kept thinking, that can't be my box up there in the hedge. Surely the postman hasn't thrown it over the wall. But yeah, he had. So I have now scoured my garden to see if any of those other parcels that went missing have been in the hedge for months, but I haven't found anything yet.
I was going to say, you'd probably find your Doom Coalition, the first one that they sent out.
That's what I was thinking. I've just expected to go through and see this trail of, mouldy old boxes that have been lying there for months waiting for me to find them, but unbelievable. So yeah, it's no wonder my post is getting lost and that.
Dear, oh dear. We've got to sort him out.
Got to sort him out. Well, I think there's two or three actually, because I have to say, I must just say, in case my postman is listening, there is one postman that's really nice. So I always chat to him, we have a laugh and stuff. So there is a nice postman, and then there's one he's not so nice. He's a bit grumpy. So I automatically assuming it's him, but it could be a Christmas temp. I don't know. We're getting near Christmas now, so I'm not going to start pointing fingers. But bit annoying.
We may have to devise a trap to snare this rogue postman.
Trap Street.
Trap Street, indeed.
Actually, I don't know if you saw Tom Dix, one of our listeners, obviously lives in Cardiff, and he posted a picture of the real tree. He walked past the real Trap Street the other day.
Oh, okay.
And he posted a picture of it. My God, it looked horrible. It was just like a dingy little alleyway with a fire door in it and graffiti all over it. And I was thinking, and I can only imagine that it smelt of what.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, that must have been horrible filming there. Because obviously, like on the TV and that, they put that nice. They probably put a blue screen in it, I'd imagine, and had to walk down it.
Probably.
I was just imagining when they were filming. I bet it stank. It just looked like a dirty old alleyway.
Well, the Trap Street in the program was meant to be in London, right?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Well, maybe they should have just not used any of the green or blue screen because, according to the Dr. London, it's a dump anyway, right?
True, yeah.
Should have just gone with it.
What a dump.
What a dump.
It kind of reminded me when they were filming Midsummer Murders in the next town along from me, and they used this building full of, I think it was supposed to be some sort of office or something, but obviously I knew because I lived near it that actually it was the town hall toilets. And I was thinking, they're horrible. And they obviously had to walk out of it as if they were coming out of an office. And I just remember watching the episode thinking, God, poor old John Nettles. I bet that was a lovely day's filming, coming out of the toilets take after take, It's not always glamorous being an actor, is it?
It's definitely not. It's just a big illusion, really, TV and films.
Yeah.
What you see on the screen is pretty much, a tiny portion of what goes into making it.
It's true, and things always look bigger on the TV as well, don't
Yeah.
they? You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all
So-
an illusion.
It's all an illusion.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should get on with some news, I think, shouldn't we?
Should we land it?
Yeah, I think we've had enough waffle.
Let's land it and do the news. First up this week, we have some really cool news, actually. So this has been, this particular story has been floating around the Whoniverse for, I don't know, at least a couple of years,
Yeah.
possibly longer. And we could be getting a step closer to this becoming reality. So for those of you who don't know, Peter Jackson, and I'm hoping you do know who that is, his best work is directing Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and stuff. He's a huge Doctor Who fan. Really big Doctor Who fan. If you've had a poke around his Facebook page or anything like that, you'll see that he's put some photos up in the past of him in like the Fourth Doctor outfit and Daleks and all that stuff. And he's been linked at various points over the last couple of years with possibly directing an episode. And it's always been like, it's almost been one of those kind of dream team ups, you know.
Yeah.
You know, to have somebody like Peter Jackson, who's such a great... I'm a really big fan of Peter Jackson, actually. I love the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit stuff.
Well, right, okay.
Yeah, and to have him direct an episode of Doctor Who, because especially as the show is very cinematic these days, and you know, it almost looks like a shorter, like feature-length movie sometimes, especially last week and this Saturday coming with this like nearly hour-long runtime. They are like mini movies in a sense. So I think, you know, having that kind of creative and big cinematic experience with a director like Peter Jackson, it could be really, really good. So they've this is no confirmation, and I've seen some Doctor Who news sites recently over the last few days who have posted stories that says Peter Jackson confirmed to direct an episode of Doctor Who, but we must make clear that it's not confirmed.
Right.
There's been no word from Peter Jackson officially or the BBC that yes, he is directing an episode. All it is, it's just a bit of a tease at the moment, which kind of all but suggests that it's the case. You know, if you read between the lines, you can tell that yes, it's probably going to happen, but it's just not at that point yet where it's been confirmed. So the way that it's been done is, there was a video that was put on Peter Jackson's Facebook page first of all, and it's quite funny. It's just him at the table with his daughter. She's on the laptop, and he's very kind of nonchalant, just, you know, buffering up his Oscar trophies and stuff like that. And then his daughter says, "You've got an email from Stephen Moffat." Then had this conversation about, well, I can't understand what he says most of the time, and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, they want you to direct an episode of Doctor Who. I've told them that you can bring everyone over to New Zealand and we'll spend 3 months doing it. And she's like, or we can all go to Cardiff and do it in 12 days. It's quite funny how they're playing on the whole, because his films, they tend to, the production of his films tend to be really long.
Yeah.
You know, he gets quite a good cushion for his timescale, whereas as we know with Doctor Who in BBC Wales, it's very intense. You know, very quick filming throughout the year. So, and then Peter Capaldi comes in character as the Doctor. And he's like, I'm looking for a director. And then they have this little kind of to and fro. And he basically hands him a contract for him to sign. But he doesn't actually sign it because the Dalek comes in and the Doctor runs away, and then they go off and watch Doctor Who on TV or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's a really well done video, and it's quite, it must suggest, you know, that they're almost there to getting this done, because I don't think the BBC would allow Capaldi to show up in character in someone's video that way unless it was linked somehow.
That's a good point.
You know?
I hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
So-
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, so I don't think that they would allow him to do it unless there was something on the table that was official. But we just haven't had, you know, when there's been rumours before, we just haven't quite got there where the Beeb has said, yes, this is happening.
Yeah, I mean, I only watched this last night actually, and it's a really nice little fun video, and I love it when things like this pop up. It sort of reminded me a bit of the Five-ish Doctors as well. It just, when these things just sort of spring up and they're very sort of tongue in cheek, but like you say, there's a bit more to them. And I'd love the way Capaldi is in it. Actually, I kind of he's very much in character, but I kind of love the fact he's so stern and just bashing out orders. So I was thinking I'd like to see him a bit more like that in the TV show. Actually, it reminded me of Tom Baker a bit.
Yeah. I totally agree. And yeah, I think it would be awesome for Peter Jackson to direct an episode.
I think it would be good. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit and that. I mean, I enjoy them, but they do drag on too much for me. But there's no denying the man's a brilliant director, and if you imagine him, say, directing Heaven Sent, for example, I can just imagine it'd be, awesome. Basically, I can just imagine, something like that in the hands of a director like Peter Jackson would be brilliant. So yeah, I hope he does come on board. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do think he's a talented guy, and I love the fact he's such a big Doctor Who fan. And like you said, he's been itching to get his claws into Doctor Who for a while, hasn't he? He's made no secret of it. I think there was all those rumours about him doing a Doctor Who film a while back, which Stephen Moffat quickly squashed, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, Peter Jackson clearly wants to get his claws into Doctor Who, and I do think it'd be great. Actually, I think it'd be a really good thing to happen. It
would be good. Yeah. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
Moving on. To other news, TARDIS set tour is back.
Yay.
At the Doctor Who Experience in Cardiff. Yeah, they didn't give much notice of this, though, because tickets go on sale, well, depending on when you listen to this podcast, they go on sale on the 3rd of December, so they're probably already on sale. But, so you're going to be able to visit the TARDIS set as seen in the current series of Doctor Who.
Yep.
Obviously, they have tweaked it a little bit since the last time it was there, with the sort of roundels are more prominent now, aren't they, in the background? And
Yep.
they've probably added a few more switches. So this is going to be running until New Year's Day. So it's the actual tours will run from the 9th of December to New Year's Day. So anybody that's lucky enough to be able to go to the Experience or in Cardiff, check it out.
Check it out. It'll be good.
I would love to. I just would love to. I thought this. See, the thing is, I'd sort of assumed that they kind of had this all the time. I didn't realise it was something they did every now and again. Because if I went down to Cardiff, I'd love to do this.
Yeah. It's
Was it there when you were there?
no.
Oh, right, okay.
New. It's not too bad, to actually get into the Experience itself. It's only, I think it's like 15 quid
Yeah,
or £14 or something if you book online.
it's not bad at all.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm not sure how much the TARDIS tour is. Yeah, I don't know about that bit, but
Oh, is that? Oh, I see. Yeah, it's extra, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
studio set tour ticket. Yeah, probably not that much though. If the ticket's 15 for the whole thing. Yeah, and I assume you can get like a photo on it and stuff, and that would be a great photo. I would love to have that.
yeah, that would be cool. What the actual official TARDIS set?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow,
especially
yeah.
now they've heightened the roundels, because I really like the 12th Doctor set. They've made it much less clinical than Matt's era. They've sort of turned the lights down and given it a bit more colour, because Matt's was very one tone, wasn't it? When they first introduced this set, it was very sort of silver and grey, and that was pretty much it, wasn't it?
Pretty much.
And now
Yeah.
we've got loads going on in there. There's like the orange time rotor, and like I said, the roundels, and you've got bookcases in there. They've definitely sort of tweaked it. I think it's a lot better for it, actually. It's a good set.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. I don't think it will quite. I know you don't like it too much, but I'm still a big fan of Tennant's.
Oh no, that's one of my favourites.
Oh, it's one of your faves. Okay.
Yeah, no, I love Tennant. It's Matt's first one. The one with the silly petrol tank on the console.
Oh, yes.
What do they call that? The punk? Well, no, steampunk.
The
is it? I don't
steampunk
know.
effect, yeah.
That's the one I'm not so fond of. Although I love the fact it's got the round circly thing in the ceiling, which they hardly ever showed. But it's Matt's first new one or whatever that I wasn't so keen on.
Oh, actually, I remember what you said. It was, I think in one of the Eccleston episodes, they'd like overblown the orange lighting and stuff, and it looked a bit.
Oh yeah, because that's right. Because I love it. I love that set, and I like it in the Eccleston era. As they went forward in Tennant's era, when he's saying goodbye to Rose
Yeah.
on the beach, and then we cut back to him crying, and it's really, really sort of almost got like a soft focus, and it's really orangey and overlit, and it's I preferred it in the Eccleston era. You're right, when it was a bit more ethereal. That's not a word. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
we all know what you mean.
Yeah, but that is a beautiful set. Yeah.
What else? Last up, we have the title and a promo image for the upcoming Christmas special.
Yeah.
Interesting one. This one, we knew that it was. We knew that River Song was going to be in it, but it seems to be quite heavily focused. So the title is "The Husbands of River Song."
Husbands.
The husbands,
right,
of River Song. Yeah, and the promo image is quite interesting. Dare I say it? A bit spoilerific.
Quite spoilerific and just quite horrific.
Yeah. Before we go any further,
yeah.
I'd just like to just really quickly mention something about spoilers.
Right.
So our policy on spoilers is thus. If it's something that the BBC or an official channel, so something like the official Doctor Who magazine or the BBC Twitter account or their Facebook page or, you know, anything at all like that, if there's a character or a story or an object or anything like that that's already been released officially by the BBC, then we don't consider it a spoiler.
Therefore, it's okay to talk about it.
Because they've put it out there into the world. So as far as we're concerned, it's fair game to talk about it. Where it concerns upcoming episodes, so say, for example, if we were putting a review out for this Saturday's episode and we somehow put it out early, then we wouldn't obviously talk about stuff that hasn't been released yet, if that makes sense. But anything else that's been put out there by the Beeb, and they're happy to officially announce it and put it out to the world, as far as we're concerned, that's fine.
Yeah, because we do tend to be careful, don't we? I mean, we don't like to give, like you said, we always try not to give away anything too much, and like you said, we would never give anything away that we knew that wasn't already out there officially. And the reason we mention this because we have got it in the neck for a couple of things we've said on previous podcasts. And basically, it's a bit unfair because, like you've just said, Gary, if something's out there, we are going to discuss it. We're not the ones putting it out there, basically. So, for example, this promo image, like you said, is quite spoilery in a way. So, I know there are people out there that like to avoid all spoilers at all costs. That's fair enough. But obviously, if we're handed a promo image like this from the BBC, we are going to talk about it. That's the nature of the beast.
Yes.
So,
yes. Yeah. And it's not like and it's not like the Beeb have sent us this specially and said, here's a heads up or whatever. This is something that they've put out there for the world to see.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, that's our thing on spoilers. So yes, this promo image, it is a horrific image just generally. It's been very poorly done.
It's been I just got to say this was floated because this was announced at midnight on Monday, was it? Monday, and this image had already been leaked hours before and was floating around the internet. And I actually said, well, that can't be real because it's blimmin' awful.
That's what I thought.
I said, fans, that looks like a 12-year-old has knocked that up in 2 minutes on a Spectrum C5. It's just rubbish. So I said that won't be it. And then they announce it, and it's genuine. And I just sort of said, well. You know what I mean? Because it had been floating around for hours before anyway. So it just took, I mean, it's just the whole composition of it. It's so badly done. And let alone the robot that's in it, which just looks awful. It's sort of a bodge job from a Sarah Jane Adventure robot and that one that was in, is it Dinosaurs on the Spaceship?
Yes.
Yeah, they kind of just took bits of both and made this one big giant red robot. River's looking in completely the wrong direction. She's not even looking at it, is she?
Yeah.
And the backdrop. Anyway, so we've got this promo image, which, well, quite frankly, is dreadful. But it does feature some spoilers. We've got the Doctor is holding a Sonic.
What looks like a new Sonic.
It does look,
It looks like see-through.
Yeah, it's got a different colour handle, isn't it? Is it blue?
It looks like it's silver with blue, or it's like a acrylic see-through. But it's definitely blue, a blue handle.
Yeah, it looks quite nice actually. What is River holding though? I can't quite.
Looks like the Starship Enterprise.
It does. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, it does.
Which it's obviously not, but it's some kind of modified sonic weapon of some sort that she's got.
Yeah.
And the Doctor's carrying a holdall bag as well.
It's not a spatula, is it? It's not a snow. It's not a sonic snow spatula, is it?
No.
You say that.
Really?
Well, I don't know. Zoom in. I don't know what it is. Anyway, yeah, Doctor's got a holdall. What's he got in there then?
He's been kicked out. Erwin Dawes has kicked him out.
Is that the new TARDIS technical bag?
That's the new the chameleon circuit has adapted it to his current circumstance, so he's out on his ear.
I tell you what, just look at River's hair, because they've done her hair like it was in the library episode.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope that means we're finally going to get to see how she gets the Sonic, because that's to be honest, if nothing else in this episode, that's the one thing I want. Even if it doesn't deliver, whatever, if it's the best episode ever, whatever, I just really want to know how River got the Sonic. So I really hope they explain it in this.
Yeah, well, the synopsis for it from the Beeb, it says, it's Christmas Day on a remote human colony, and the Doctor is hiding from Christmas carols and comedy antlers. But when a crashed spaceship calls upon the Doctor for help, he finds himself recruited into River Song's squad and hurled into a fast and frantic chase across the galaxy. King Hydroflax is furious, and his giant robot bodyguard is out of control and coming after them all. Will Nardole survive? And when will River Song work out who the Doctor is? All will be revealed in a starliner full of galactic supervillains and a destination the Doctor has been avoiding for a very long time.
Oh my, well, good grief.
So this could be, well, let's not judge too early.
No, let's not prejudge it.
You know, at the moment, it does sound like a horrific panto version of a small budget Doctor Who thing. And the way that the synopsis, the way that they've written it, it sounds very Star Warsy, almost childlike. Yeah. Which is interesting because I remember Stephen Moffat saying that this Christmas special was going to be very non-Christmassy.
That's what he said. Yeah.
But the way that they've put it across is that it's very Christmassy, and it looks, I think, because they've cast these comedy actors as well, and the fact that he says that it says the Doctor is hiding from Christmas carols and comedy antlers. I just get the feeling that this is going to be a bit of I'm not sure. A bit of, because we've gone to the Series 9 has been quite dark in places and and quite, dare I say it, quite adult in some of it. I think we're going to come to a bit of a sharp turn with the Christmas special. I think it's going to be quite very family friendly. Put it that way.
And I'm all for a bit of fun actually, and I am all for it being more family friendly on Christmas. So I have no problem with that. But this does sound a bit cringy. But like I said, won't prejudge it. I'll look forward to it. Positives from this image are that the Doctor is wearing that glorious jacket and he looks smart. So that's something I will say is positive. We'll see. It'll soon pop round. It'll soon be Christmas. It's on at 5:15 as well, isn't it? Which is quite early.
That's a good point.
5:15, yeah. Have you normally finished off your turkey and sprouts by then?
Luckily, yeah. We normally have Christmas dinner quite early on obviously on Christmas Day. I think we're normally done by like 2:30, 3 o'clock. So,
all right.
Yeah. What about you? You're going to be smashing into turkey at that time?
Well, I may well have finished it by then, but I will be in a house party of 22 people plus. There is no way I'm going to be able to hear a word of this. So I will be coming back, and I think the likelihood is watching this drunk at sort of 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. That's what normally happens with Christmas specials with me. It's not normally a good thing because I'm normally drunk, and if they're not good, like the last couple have been, I'm normally quite angry by the time I finish watching them, so I tend to watch them again when I'm a bit more sober and calm on Boxing Day. I won't. It may well be on in the background at Christmas Day for me, but I won't get to actually properly watch it till probably even the day after, or maybe a couple of days after that. So I'll be gauging all the reaction. I'm not too bothered about spoilers. As soon as it's finished airing, I'll be jumping on to all social medias to see what people's reaction to it is, because I can't wait to see them.
Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah.
one of the things I've loved about this series, actually, is I've just loved, as soon as the episodes are finished, just seeing what everyone thought. Because it's been such a... Well, Doctor Who's always quite divisive in terms of its dividing fans and stuff. But this series has been brilliant, I think, for that. So, yeah, this one won't be any different.
Of course not. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll wait and see. It's well, Christmas is... we're into December now, so we've only got a few weeks, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I do think... I am looking forward to seeing Capaldi with River. I know some people are like, oh, River. I will just say the title's dreadful. I've got to say that. The Husbands of River Song.
Yeah.
What on earth?
Sounds a bit dodgy to me.
Does sound dodgy. But anyway, yeah, I won't be negative. I won't. Sorry, I'll try not to be negative. I'll go into it with an open mind, as always. And yeah, Capaldi would be great anyway, I'm sure.
Of course. Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's going to wrap for news. Adam, my good fellow,
Yes.
please tell us what we're reviewing this week.
This week we are reviewing Heaven Sent.
That's what I remember. Always then. Always then. Always exactly then. I can't keep doing this, Clara. I can't. Why is it always me? Why is it never anybody else's turn? Can I just lose? Just this once. Easy. It would be easy. It would be so easy. Just tell them. Just tell whoever wants to know all about the hybrid.
The hybrid.
Yeah, I find myself doing that a lot these days. After our sound clip, it's like, very interesting. So, Heaven Sent. So this was the slightly longer runtime that we spoke about a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah.
So what was this? It was like 50 minutes, 55 minutes?
55.
55, yeah. And this is obviously part 2 in a 3-parter to finish up the series. Mm-hmm. And this is one of those very uniquely written episodes of Who,
Yes.
where it's not your run-of-the-mill, the Doctor and his companion have been plonked into a siege situation, or the TARDIS gets accosted into a situation and they help and save the day. This is one of those very, very quite jarring and depressing episodes for me. Overall, the Doctor's obviously alone because Clara's now left us, and he's been teleported to this this kind of very surreal kind of dungeon, prison, remote island
Yeah.
place.
The middle of the sea.
Yeah, and there's no one else in it. It's just Peter Capaldi as the Doctor throughout the entire episode. We do get this very slow moving monster creeping around, but apart from that, it's just him.
It's called. Is he called the Veil? The Veil, the monster.
Is it called the Veil? Yes, it is.
The Veil. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
the Veil. So very slow moving creature, and
The only reason I say that is because I was wondering if that was. I wondered if that was going to eventually sort of come around to being Veil Yard, but it never did. But I don't know if that has any relevance to it. But it did make me think of that.
yes, yep. So the episode in general is the Doctor. It's a bit like Groundhog Day,
Yes.
kind of, if you've seen that movie, but without the comedy. So the Doctor is he lands in this place fresh from this teleportation, realizes that this monster is after him, and there's a couple of things that he can do to stall the monster, I guess, which is kind of revealed to him out of his own confessions and his own guilt and stuff. And then he slowly realizes that this trap that he's in, this endless loop, is which I was surprised at how long that went on for.
Yeah, me too.
Because essentially he's he's trying to escape this monster, but at the same time he's in detective mode and trying to figure out these clues that lead him to an answer of where he is and who's put him there. But every time he gets to a certain point, the story, if you like, gets reset. So he ends up dying, but there's like a copy of himself within this system. So every time he ends up dying, he flips a switch at the last minute, and he appears again.
Yeah.
And this goes round and round and round and round, and then as he's doing it, as he gets like the very last minute, he's basically punching the hell out of this glass wall.
Is it supposed to be made of diamond?
Not glass, no, it's made of something else. It's tougher than diamond.
Because I still didn't, and there's a few bits in this story that even having watched twice, I still haven't quite got my head around. Yeah.
It's called asbantium.
Oh, right.
And it's 400 times tougher than diamond, apparently.
Really?
Indeed, yes. Which I thought was a little bit far-fetched. So even after 1 billion years of going round and round and round and him punching the same bit in the wall, he ends up with a perfectly rectangular walkway through this wall that leads to the TARDIS at the very end, and then he's off, and then we find out quite dramatically where he ends up.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
That's basically it, yeah.
There's a lot more to it, obviously, in terms of the Doctor figuring out why he's there and how to escape, and his own. It's very internal episode. It's all about his own thoughts and how he works stuff out, and this revelation, on how to escape and stuff. So, but in a nutshell, it's like Groundhog Day.
Yeah, I suppose it is actually. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, and I mean, we said last week about the fact we were quite excited that the last two stories were going to be feature length, if you like. This one was longer, and the other one is even longer.
Yeah.
And we were sort of saying all that sort of suggests that because normally they'd be under a certain pressure to keep it the same length, because of scheduling. So it suggested that they'd thrown out the window because they just couldn't possibly make it any shorter, and everything in there needed to be there. And I'm not sure if it did need to be 10 minutes longer. I don't know. Like you said, I did feel like I felt a bit like the Doctor, like I was on a sort of roundabout that I couldn't get off, just going round and round and round. This is an episode that I personally, I don't know about you, but I was really looking forward to this one. I think because I knew that it was going to be a one-hander with Capaldi, and I just, I can't get enough of Capaldi. I just, I find him so engaging that I was really excited about this. The fact that he was going to have to carry this nearly hour-long episode by himself. And I loved the synopsis for it as well. I love the premise of him being trapped in this castle that's actually a puzzle or a maze, and he's got to work out all these things, and just sounded brilliant. I loved the idea of it. I'll go into my first reaction to it was I watched it. I did go into it with quite high hopes, I have to be honest. But once I finished watching it for the first time, I really didn't like it. In fact, I shut the computer screen and I looked at my partner. I said, "God, I hated that." I was shocked and I was quite angry because A, because I found it really slow, B, because I thought the story was just all over the place, and I really didn't like the blooded Doctor. I found it gruesome and unnecessary and horrible, and it really didn't sit right with me at all. I think I said to you last week, because we never sort of discuss these things before we talk about it, but I said to you that I found it quite gruesome and totally this, like we were talking earlier about it being no longer no longer a family show. And I thought, yeah, this episode is just not, you wouldn't sit and watch this for your family. It's not, there's no sort of humour in there particularly. So I was really, on a first watch, I was actually quite angry. It sounds weird. I was actually I think I was so disappointed with it. And I couldn't work out, I kept saying, why is the Doctor hitting away at this wall with his hand? Why doesn't he go and get one of those shovels? It would be a lot less painful. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's just banging away at this wall for thousands and billions of years. He's got shovels there. But just before we sort of get really into it, I have to say, I watched it again on Saturday when it aired to make some notes of the podcast. Obviously, I went into it thinking, I actually was not dreading it, but I was thinking, I don't know, I really just don't know if I want to watch this because I really didn't enjoy it. But I needed to make some notes, and obviously I wouldn't not watch it. I kind of did a bit of a 360 on it. I don't know if it's because I was just sat there thinking, right, here we go. I kind of got to the end of it, and I actually enjoyed it a hell of a lot more than I did on a first watch. And I'm really, really confused. Overall, just in general, just really, really confused. I don't know what I feel about this episode because, yeah, first watch, I hated it. And that's quite a strong word. I got to the end of it and just was like, wow, no. That just, it wasn't clever enough. It was almost a bit Sherlock at times with him. Didn't do anything. And then on the second watch, I actually found myself being quite engrossed in it and sort of, I enjoyed it. I actually really enjoyed it. And it's bizarre. I've never done such a 360 before on an episode, not even Under the Lake, which I had a bit of a similar thing for, but nothing like this. I mean, I hated it on the first watch, and I actually really quite enjoyed it on the second watch. So I'm a bit perplexed by the episode, is my initial thoughts. Over to you, Gary.
Over to me, right. Well, overall, I kind of echo your thoughts. And when because I've seen this twice now, and I think it's absolutely one of those episodes that you need to give it a second watch for sure.
Yeah.
And I think, I've read a lot of people saying the same thing, really, that they were quite confused and it was they didn't know what to make of it when they'd finished watching and stuff like that. And I felt that way after I watched it the first time. After the first watch, I was like, I was just a bit like, I feel a bit down at the moment. I mean, the thing that made it not quite so downing was the epic last 2 minutes. That kind of picked me up at the end. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. But the majority of the episode, I thought, this is all very, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's got an air of brilliance about it. It's got shades of just complete, just genius about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because it's not until, I didn't realise this until the end of the second watch, really, was that at the very end, this whole environment that he's in, so this castle that turns around like Hogwarts and all this stuff, is pretty much a battle within his own mind and his own feelings, because at the very end, it all collapses down into his confession dial. So it's all about a battle about his own demons, if you like, is the way that I took it. And it's also it kind of answers a question back. Remember at the very beginning of the series, the reason why Clara and Missy were looking for the doctors because he was due to die. The reason why Missy got sent his confession dial is because within the next 24 or 48 hours, the doctor was going to die.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And he does die. He just dies over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So it kind of answers that question, because we, at the first part of the series, we thought, well, this is kind of weird. She wouldn't have been sent that for no reason. The doctor, it's clearly something's going to happen to him, but he doesn't die, obviously.
Yeah, so I hadn't put that together, but that makes sense now.
Yeah. So the doctor does die, but because there's a copy of himself within the system, he dies, but over 2 billion years. So, but yeah, that's the way I took this episode. After the first watch, I felt quite depressed and I still feel that way a little bit. After the second watch, I feel like, but then again, you can't have Doctor Who all funny and fluffy all the time. You need to dive into the characters' darker regions and, unearth some of that stuff so that we can progress the character forward. So I understand that. Now, like I said, I thought it was, some parts of it were just genius. This whole concept of him trying to figure out, how to escape and what's going on at the same time under pressure from this monster, the Veil, constantly after him all the time. I thought that was a really cool concept. I love that. It was really cool.
Yeah.
But the things that it's a kind of a strange review, really, because normally we go through and say, so what did you think about the support cast? And what did you think about this concept? And what did you think about Clara? But we can't really do that with this one, because it was the same concept pretty much throughout the entire episode.
Yeah.
The doctor gets brought in straight away. He has no idea where he is or what's going on. And it was like, you could see why people were saying it's confusing, because we had no idea why this monster was after him or what this monster is. We have no idea why he throws the stool out the window and dives out, and the skull's underneath the water. So for the first half of it, we have no idea at all why these things are happening or why he's there. I was half expecting, like, a previous villain or monster to step out, and we find out that maybe, a past villain is... Because in Face the Raven, we had that thing, didn't we, where the whole reason why he was, lured into that environment is because, the Doctor needed to be captured and teleported off somewhere.
Yeah. So
I thought that the person that had masterminded this whole thing was like, some old villain like Sutek or something from years ago.
That would have been good.
So I was half expecting some like halfway through a reveal, like somebody masterminding it. But that kind of changed, because halfway through we didn't get that. But then we started to figure out little tiny bits that linked the story together. And the first thing that I thought was when he goes into the room and finds his dry clothes after he's dived out the window and gone under the water and seen all the skulls and stuff. He goes into that room and he's got his own clothes, but they're nice and dry in front of the fire. So obviously gets changed. And I thought, well, he must have done that before.
Yeah.
I immediately thought that. I thought, well, he must have put those clothes there before. And that's when I started to think, this is going to be a loop.
It's because he puts them back in the same spot as well, doesn't he? Because initially he's throwing the clothes on the floor,
yes.
Then he sort of looks and thinks, oh no, I'll tidy them up. And
exactly, yeah.
Same as you at that point. I thought, well, hang on. He's clearly putting them in the same spot. So this is, like you said, going to be a loop of some kind. Yeah.
And that was the main kind of theme, I guess, was this whole looping around. And I also found it really interesting, this whole concept of time slowing down while he's figuring stuff out. So when he's in like a bit of a situation, like when the veil is like reaching out to him and it's just about to put its hands on him, time almost freezes or it slows down. And he, in his mind, he goes into the TARDIS to try and figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
I thought that was really, really good. And I actually found it quite creepy that we don't see Clara. We just see the back of her.
Yeah.
Just standing there. We never see her face and we never see her move. I thought that was really, really good. Quite creepy as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, those parts of it for me were just absolutely brilliant. So let's talk about the monster itself then, the Veil. What did you think to this? Because I found it a little bit. I found it, well, like most things with this episode, really. I found it. Half of it I found was really cool and menacing, and the other half I found a little bit kind of seen it before.
I just didn't think it was shot very well. I mean, I thought it looked a bit. I thought the hands looked really rubbery. Something we've said about previous monsters this series as well. I mean, they didn't look particularly. I don't know. I mean, it was quite horrific. Like when it kept catching up the Doctor, it did work as a good sort of scary creature. Mm-hmm. But I think, I don't know. So I just kept thinking you could sort of see it's just somebody lumbering around with a big suit on with these rubbery gloves. So it didn't really work 100% for me, but I think it was more the way it was shot,
right,
more than anything else. So, I mean, I think if it had been kept more in the shadows, and maybe if they'd just put a bit of gunge on the gloves or something, do you know what I mean? It just didn't quite work for me, but I still think it was good. Yeah, a bit like you said, it served its purpose. I just think it could have been shot a bit better, a bit more in the shadows would have been good. Because it was quite horrific when it actually caught up with the Doctor and stuff. I mean, the bit when he's in the grave really made me jump. You know, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I did, this whole thing about the veil, I did, half of me was, you were saying you thought it was going to be somebody revealed. Mm-hmm. There were two things. I thought it was going to be missing, actually. I had visions of her in one of the turrets in the castle just controlling the whole thing. I was quite surprised, that somebody wasn't revealed to be behind it. But I also thought the Doctor might be revealed as the Valeyard in that veil. I don't know. I just had all these thoughts go through me when I was watching it that didn't happen.
Me too. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was okay. Yeah, I mean, it was creepy enough, I suppose. It certainly did work in that sense. Yeah. What did you think?
Yeah, like I said, I think I think some of it worked and some of it didn't. The one effect I really did like, which made it quite horrible, was all the flies.
Oh yeah, that was good.
I think that was a good effect because
Yes.
and yeah, I think for the most part it was quite cool. It was quite menacing. The fact that it wasn't like a fast moving thing that would chase you all the time, that it was always there, just kind of slowly plodding along, always after you at a certain pace. I think it made it a little bit more menacing than if it was just a monster that would just run after you the whole time and was quite scary that way.
Yeah, menacing's a good word. It was. Because,
Yeah.
I love things like that, which are, like you said, it's really slow moving. So you think, well, what's scary about that? But it's the fact you're trapped in this castle in the middle of the sea, which keeps moving around and changing the rooms. That's a lovely idea. And yeah, that worked really well, actually. And like you said, the whole fly thing. I think one of the things I didn't quite get on a first watch was this was all about the Doctor confessing things. Every time he confessed something, it stopped the monster, right?
Yes.
That's pretty much so. So he confessed that he was scared, and then he confessed he didn't run away from Gallifrey because he was bored or something. So that was a concept, but I don't know if it was particularly used that well. I think it could have been better. Do you know what I mean? If he's in there to make confessions, I think it could have been sort of hammered home a little bit more, if you like. Because I didn't quite get that on the first watch, although it seemed a bit more obvious the second time. But because I kept thinking, what's going on here the first time I was watching it? So, like I said, it just seemed like a loop. I didn't really sort of get it. It was all about the Doctor confessing and to get into a certain place.
Yeah.
But I like the fact he worked out stuff, that he worked out that he'd got 80 minutes if he ran to eat, sleep, and do stuff. And I thought, well, that's quite nice. I like all those little ideas. And when I said earlier it's a bit like Sherlock, I was thinking of the fact he keeps going into his storeroom like the TARDIS. So when he throws the chair out the window, he's timing how long it takes, the flower dropping to the floor, all of that. It's very sort of Sherlock. But it kind of, I kind of like that, because I kind of think, the Doctor and Sherlock are similar in the fact that they use their brains to get out of stuff. So I didn't really mind that sort of comparison, if you like. I thought it was okay.
Yeah. The whole confession thing, I thought they were going to do a little bit more than that. I suppose it's a lead up to the whole hybrid thing, because the first two confessions, so the first one that he's afraid to die, which I think we all knew kind of quietly anyway.
Yeah.
About the Doctor and, about his character anyway. And the second one that, like you said, that he admits that he left Gallifrey because he was afraid. So
the hybrid thing, though, so it kind of turns out that's the crux of it, isn't it? That's what they want to know, is about this hybrid.
Yes.
Yeah?
Because he does say, doesn't he? I'm pretty sure he says that a bit further on in the episode that he does mention this whole hybrid thing, but he's not going to say it.
And doesn't he say something like half Dalek, half Time Lord?
Yeah.
Which made me think of well, I know Davros isn't Time Lord, but I was wondering where the Moffat was going with that. I was thinking he's not going to make Davros not going to make out that, Davros was a Time Lord, is he? Or so, do you know what I mean? I wondered what was going on there.
Yeah. So I think the whole confession thing, that we only got two of them. And I think the third one that he does mention about the hybrid, I think, is a lead up to what he says at the very end.
Yeah.
Which is, pretty much the other than knowing his name, that's pretty much the ultimate confession for him, I would say, because, we'll come on to that whole hybrid thing in a little while, but that I thought the confession thing was, I had to get it straight in my mind on the second watch. I didn't quite get it, like you said, on the first.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm just being very slow. I'm not sure, but
if he had confessed what the hybrid was, which he still doesn't, even at the end. But if he had confessed, presumably he would have just been set free or something. Is that right? Would he have been let out? Because that's what they wanted to know, wasn't it? Or what would have happened? See, that's the thing. I just kept thinking, what was the alternative to him breaking through that wall? If he keeps confessing and he tells them what they want to know, would they have just let him out? Or?
I think so. Or they would have killed him. One of the two. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's why he's holding back on the third one.
So do we actually? Because this is the other thing I'm unclear about. Do we ever really find out who? I mean, he's in the confession dial because he sort of comes out of it at the end.
Yes.
So is this is the Time Lords doing this to him? This is
Well, we're not sure, mate, because
No.
at the end of this one, especially when we saw the next time trailer, we see obviously the Time Lords,
yeah,
and
he's
all
back-
that stuff, but also Ashilda's there as well,
Oh, yeah.
which is very, very interesting. But
I was just thinking, yeah, who's doing this to? Like,
well, we
why
don't
is he
know.
in it?
Yeah,
No.
that's what we're going to find out, mate.
Right.
So yeah, it's not been revealed yet who actually put him in the confession dial and did that stuff. But it must be either the Time Lords or somebody of real big significance within the storyline at the moment. Because if we remember back to Day of the Doctor, they froze Gallifrey in a moment in time within a picture. So it must be somebody who's privy to all of that stuff, because it's not like Gallifrey is just a planet somewhere that you can just go to.
Yeah.
You know, the whole point of the Day of the Doctor and the 50th show was Gallifrey wasn't destroyed, but the only way to save it was to freeze it in a moment in time. You know, a bit like the Zygons did within the picture. They kind of froze themselves in time in a picture. So it must be somebody who knows all this stuff. So it's either the Time Lord, like you say, or somebody else. We don't know.
So it could see, that's the thing. Like you said about the reveal, I kept thinking, right, Miss is going to just pop up any minute now, or somebody's orchestrating all of this. But like you said, it's got to be somebody who wants, you know, why does whoever it is want to know about this hybrid? Like, what's so important about it?
Let's talk about that then. Let's talk about this hybrid thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I've got an interesting thought on this.
Oh.
Yeah. After the episode went out, Twitter and Facebook was just instantly flooded with people saying that the hybrid is the Doctor, who is half Time Lord and half human.
Oh no! Don't. That goes back to the Doctor Who movie.
Well, that's what a very large portion of, you know, the Who fans that I follow and stuff.
But he says, doesn't he say half Time Lord, half Dalek? Though?
Well, he does at that point. But then it's kind of, it does at that point, doesn't it? And maybe he's referring to something else or something. But at the very end, he says the hybrid, destined to conquer Gallifrey and stand in its ruins, is me. So this is where I've got an interesting thought on it. I think a lot of people took that literally, where he says the hybrid, destined to conquer Gallifrey and stand in its ruins, is me. I think a lot of people thought, right, he's now admitted to us, the viewer, that he is the hybrid. And that's when a lot of people said, well, he must be half Time Lord, half human.
Right.
My thought on it is because, and I'll be honest with you, initially I thought that. Because he's certainly not half Time Lord, half Dalek or anything.
No, but with the Moffat, I mean, that is so hated by fans that
I know,
it's kind of
yeah.
ignored. Surely the Moffat wouldn't drag that back up, would he?
Well, I'm not sure, but my take on it is, it wasn't until I saw the Next Time trailer that I saw Ashilda there, and this makes me think that what he's saying is the hybrid is me, as in
me.
She calls herself me.
Right. Okay.
So I don't know for sure, but I think that could be a bit of a red herring. I think it could be him saying, you know, the hybrid is me, as in myself. But I think, and I could be totally wrong on this, I probably am, but I think that he's referring to Ashilda, as in the hybrid is me.
That makes sense. Oh God, I hope you're right, because I don't want to go down that whole Doctor half human thing again. Yeah, Ashilda. Now that does make sense. I'm kind of relieved you've said that, actually, because I was getting a bit worried about this whole hybrid thing and where we were going with it.
Yeah.
That does make sense. And also it explains why, because I kept thinking during those episodes with Ashilda, you know, when she's calling herself me, I kept thinking, well, who calls himself me? It's such a, what is the point of that? So if if she's calling herself me just as a plot point so that the Doctor can say that at the end of this episode so that we all go, but really it's a shielder. That is the kind of thing that Moffat does, and it does make sense, because otherwise, why would you call a character me? It's just such a silly thing to do. So that does make sense. I think you may well be onto something there.
Hopefully, unless the Moff has caved and, the Doctor is half human.
I think,
bit,
no, surely not. I mean, that's just like, I know there was such a, when they said that in the TV movie, fans just went ballistic, and rightly so. I mean, I like there being a mystery to the Doctor. I don't like the thought of him being half human, half Time Lord. He's a Time Lord. Let's just not. I really don't want to go back there. Yeah, and if that is where it goes, I think people will be baying for Moffat's blood if he was to do that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because fans really don't, and I'm one of them, really don't like this whole half human, half Time Lord thing. I don't know. So yeah, I think you could be right. I think it's a red herring because, yeah, we know from the trailer Ashilda's in it. She is a hybrid anyway, and she's a. Although she's not half human, is she?
Well,
yeah.
Well, she's half those machines. What are they called? The
Maya.
The Maya, yeah. She's kind of half that, half human. But
it kind of fits. It kind of fits. Yeah.
So we could be in for a massive upset if it turns out that the Doctor is half human.
No, I don't think.
Well, you don't know, mate, because it would explain why, and it's been mentioned in quite a few episodes as well, why the Doctor's got such an affinity with Earth.
Oh, right,
and humans and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and then. Yeah, so what did you think to seeing Gallifrey? You saw the whole Citadel, looks like a giant snow globe.
Yeah, loved it.
All that stuff, that looks awesome.
Nothing made me wanting next week's more than that. I just, as soon as we saw that, because, as I say, I did find the episode a bit of a slog at first, but that last few minutes was like really notched it up. And as I say, definitely enjoyed it more second time. So when we got to that bit, just seeing Gallifrey again, I love it. Why does the Doctor want to be the one standing in its ruins, though? What's his beef with the Time Lords? What am I missing here?
Yeah, we don't know.
Okay. I thought I'd kind of lost track, because that's the thing I didn't get. He's like, I'm going to be the one to stand in its ruins. I was thinking, why? What have they done?
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing, and this is only a guess, that he suspects that the Time Lords have done this to him.
Yes. Right. Okay.
Like we said, we don't know at this point who's done this to him, but it's a pretty safe bet that one of the Time Lords, or the Time Lords, the High Council, or somebody has done this. So he's probably pretty miffed. But the thing that I find interesting about that final sentence from him, other than like the quite humorous thing, like he tells that little boy to run off, and he's like, tell the Time Lords that I've arrived and I've taken the long way round.
Yeah.
That was quite ironic, because he literally did take 2 billion years to do that.
And I thought, doesn't the Doctor... Oh, no, I suppose he's reset, isn't he? Yeah, I was going to say, doesn't the Doctor age? I know he can regenerate, but I don't know, yeah. A bit like Matt Smith in his last story where he got old and that. I was sort of half expecting Capaldi to sort of do that, but I suppose maybe it didn't work like that. I don't know.
No, well, the monster, the Veil, that stops the regeneration.
Oh yes, that's right.
So when that kills him, he can't regenerate. So that's why he just constantly resets, and he looks the same age. Yeah. Yeah,
he's basically dying, actually, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing that I find interesting about that last sentence that he says, where instead of him saying the hybrid that stands in its ruins, he actually just say destined to conquer Gallifrey and stand in its ruins, which also makes me think that it's not him that's the hybrid. Because I don't think that, whatever situation that he's in or whatever he's gone through, it seems out of character to me that he would say that he would be the one to bring down Gallifrey and stand in its ruins. It doesn't make sense to me.
See, I thought that probably more on a first watch, but I thought that was going down the Vale Yard Road. I think I've just got that in my head, and I can't get it out because I just thought, oh, he's really snapped. I think it's because of the ending of Face the Raven, where he really sort of snapped, and I thought this is it now, because I think I've thought this ever since Capaldi was cast, that he was going to be the darker Doctor, and because he's sort of technically the 13th regeneration.
Technically, yeah.
He's kind of, because the Valiard is the sort of in between the Doctor's regeneration. So I've always had it in my head that he could possibly be, or could possibly end up being the Valiard, or going down that route. So when he said that at the end of this episode, that was what I was thinking. I was thinking, oh, he is, he's turning, he's snapping, he's really sort of losing it and going down the darker route. And I don't know, we'll have to wait and see next week. But that's kind of how I read it. I thought it's the sort of Valiard side of the Doctor coming out now, where he's just a loose cannon, and he's just ready to just do what he wants. Do you know what I mean? And he's gonna sort a few people out. That's what I thought.
Yeah, you could be right, mate.
I hope so. Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the Capaldi really going for it in the next episode, because there's a lot to tie up next week.
Yes, there is. Wow.
Yeah.
And I don't think, other than a couple of little bits that would explain his situation with River Song, I don't think. Well, I'm guessing anyway that not a lot of it will carry over to the Christmas special. That looks like quite a bespoke story, just revolving around the Doctor and River Song. So I'm guessing that a lot of it will have to be tied up next week.
I kind of hope so, actually. I kind of want this series to be rounded up, because Clara's left and everything, and I think, I think you're right, especially going by the synopsis that we read earlier for the Christmas special. Yeah, I get the feeling that we're kind of be tying stuff up next week.
Yeah. Okay, let's backtrack just a little. So that the ending then, that cliffhanger thing was awesome. I think we can agree.
Yeah.
Let's backtrack a little bit. Did you think all the little detective solving things were quite good? So he had to work out, he figured out to change his clothes and put his clothes back tidy. And then he had to figure out, the distance, when he threw the stall out the window. He calculated how long it would take to hit the ground and knew he could dive out. And they had to dig in the grave, and then, the whole I am in 12 message and all that stuff. Do you think that's quite cool, how he kind of went into detective mode and figured all that stuff out?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I that's kind of what I wanted for the episode. I think that's why I was a bit initially disappointed, because when this started off, I loved the start of this episode. I really thought it was good, and it intrigued me. And I wanted a bit more of that. Like when we saw the castle rotating, all the rooms changing, I kind of wanted it to be a bit more like, what's that? I've forgotten the story. First Doctor story, where he's doing all the puzzles. Anyway, I wanted the Doctors to sort of be a bit more adventurous, so running down all these moving corridors, having to figure stuff out, and I wanted a bit more of that, rather than. That's the thing. This is a very typical Stephen Moffat way of writing. He's sort of got all these ideas, but he sort of never really brings them to fruition. Well, how do you say it?
Fruition. Yeah.
Fruition. So do you know what I mean? So I would have liked a bit more of the sort of puzzle solving and that sort of thing, really. But I liked what we got. Yeah, I like a bit of all this Room 12. I mean, it's kind of been done before a bit. I'm thinking like the God Complex with the doors and stuff. But yeah, I thought it was good. Yeah.
Yeah. I quite like that.
What is that? I've got to just look at what it is while you.
Yeah, the only thing that I found was it did lose me a little bit, the middle act in this one.
Yeah, me too.
Because we'd already had the situation explained to us. Maybe not literally, but we, as the Doctor's going through it, we realised that something isn't quite right, and he's figuring it all out. And then once we get through it the first time, I found that it was a bit like they were drawing that out until we got to the finale bit, because the bit where they kept repeating clips, and it showed you going round and round and round, and he just
for so long, didn't it?
And he says, he looks up to the stars, and he's like 7,000 years, and then he says, it's 10,000 years and 1 billion years and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I think that they went round and round doing that bit. I think they really wanted to hammer home his constant struggle, and constant having to reinvent this stuff and constantly go through it. And, You know, so they did that, but I found it, and the bit before that as well, where we clocked that this was a loop and this was going to go on and on. I think that whole bit, I don't know, I just, it lost me a little bit, and I was like, yeah, we know this, yeah, we get it.
Yeah.
So I think they could have put something else in there.
I was the same, actually. I think that's one of the things that really grated on me the first time I watched it. I kept thinking that as well. I was thinking, started off great, you lost me a bit in the middle, and now I get what's happening, and you're just really hammering it home. And I agree with you on that, because it just went on a bit too long, and I don't know, seeing the Doctor all blooded up and crawling on the floor and all the blood now, I just found it a little bit grim. You know, like you said, you were a bit depressed after you finished watching it. I didn't really like seeing the Doctor like that. I don't know. It was a bit gruesome for me, and it wasn't actually. I don't know. It's weird. It wasn't so bad on second time I watched it. I almost wondered if they'd cut something out, because obviously I'd watched the preview of it the first time, so I was thinking it wasn't as bad as I remembered it.
Right.
But I still found it a little bit going over the same ground. Like, you know, when he kept saying 1 billion years, I was thinking, yeah, okay, we get it. You know, God, how long's he been there? Like, you know, hammering that wall. I guess it was because it was supposed to be such a thick wall that he was trying to get through, that they were just hammering home the point that it's taken him that long to get through it.
I think, though, even after 2 billion years, would a human, well, sorry, not a human, well, would an average fist hitting that, even after 2 billion years, would it go that far?
It's one of my, to be honest, it's one of the bits that I just don't like about the episode, is that bit of hitting the wall over and over again and finally breaking through it. I think there's more to it perhaps than I grasp, because this whole thing about him writing bird in the floor, and that totally got lost to me the first time I watched it, and I'm still not 100% sure what it's about, but the Doctor does make some sort of speech at the end about a bird chipping away at a rock or something.
It's a Brothers Grimm story.
Brothers Grimm, that's it, yeah. But it kind of got a bit drowned out in the music and stuff, so I still haven't really got that, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I read you.
Celestial Toymaker was the first Doctor story I was trying to think of. I think in my head, that's what I was thinking. It'd be like that, with like a toy maker watching over him, controlling everything and setting him tasks and things. I think that's what I would have liked a bit more of. But it wasn't really to be. As I say, it's a very sort of typical Moffat story, really, in terms of the way it was written, obviously. Yeah.
I thought it was going to be, when I said earlier about I was expecting a reveal half, 2/3 way through of a monster somewhere, I thought it was going to be a bit like, you know, the Mind Meddler story, you know, where the Doctor and everything is, you know, the Troughton story. Is it Troughton?
The Mind Robber.
The Mind Meddler. The Mind Robber, sorry.
Yeah.
You know, where there's that guy who's basically, you know, a story.
Yes.
You know, an author, and he's writing out and things are changing and everything's not quite right. I thought it was going to be that kind of vibe where there was somebody masterminding it all, but yeah, it was all in the Doctor all along. And pretty good location as well. I didn't realise that they filmed, because I was in Caerphilly Castle.
I wondered if it was Caerphilly.
It was, yeah. I was there literally like last month or a month before when I went to Wales, and I've actually got loads of photos of all the rooms that they were in.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so it's a really good, because I remember looking at it and instantly and thinking, that's Caerphilly Castle. We were there like literally 6 weeks ago.
I did wonder. I was thinking the same thing. I thought, because I knew you'd been there, and I thought, I wonder if that is, because they do often use it, don't they?
Yeah.
So, that's really, I'm very jealous. I'd love to go there.
Yeah, it's really cool. So,
especially now.
And they didn't really change much either. There's a bit where he's walking through this really big hall, and it's got like a wooden sort of closed off section and a massive fireplace and stuff. They hadn't really altered it, you know. It just looks as it.
Yeah, have you been by that fireplace where he puts his clothes in? You've seen all that, have you?
Yeah, it's all in there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So, very cool.
So all of that, I was just thinking, all of the skulls and that, you know, in the water, that all turns out to be the Doctor's skulls then, obviously.
Yes.
Under the water and all that. We may as well talk about Capaldi, haven't we? Because obviously he's, you know, we normally talk about the cast. Capaldi, given pretty much has to carry the whole episode. Me personally, I can't get enough of him. I thought he was great. I just loved it. Yeah, I love Capaldi as the Doctor.
Yes, and when I was watching this, and especially after I watched it the second time round, I thought to myself, I don't think that some of the other actors who have played the Doctor could have pulled this off in this way. You know, I think that if you look at like Matt Smith's character, I don't think they could have gone down this dark road this much with him. Like, if you can't imagine Matt Smith's Doctor crawling along the floor with blood and all burnt up. I just can't imagine that.
No, I can't imagine. Just out of interest, did you think it was a little bit too much, or is it just me? I am a bit of a softie, and I think more about the sort of family thing. I know we've moved away from being a family series, and I think that's good and bad. I think, you know, I like Doctor Who to be a bit more darker, but I don't know. I also like the thought that a whole family could sit and get different things from Doctor Who. So I like the thought of a family sitting down and watching it, and I there's no doubt about it. Doctor Who has definitely moved down the darker route lately. It's not so much a family show anymore, and I don't know, is that a good thing or not?
Well, I think it's just a sign of the times, mate. I think it's one of those, because I know that you we talked about it very, very briefly before we watched it. Before I watched it anyway, and you said there's a bit in it, and I'm not sure if you're going to agree with me, but I found it very gruesome. And the bit where the Vale puts his hands on the Doctor and he's all burnt and stuff, I thought, that is this the bit that he's talking about? Because I thought, is there a more gruesome part coming up? I thought, you know, this isn't, in my opinion, this isn't that bad. But the whole thing where he's crawling along the corridor and there's blood left behind and stuff, I think it's all a little bit, it's getting closer to that point where, I mean, it's certainly not watershed stuff. But I think it is getting a bit closer to, is it appropriate viewing for kids and that kind of thing.
I was just thinking, because obviously you're a family man, I thought you got kids, and I know you sometimes watch it with your younger kid and that. And I was just thinking, yeah, I'm all for Doctor Who being dark and stuff, but it was a little bit close to knuckle. It wasn't as bad as I thought, actually, a second time, but it was still a little bit gruesome. I was thinking, you know, if I was a kid now, as I say, I think kids now are so blasé to it that they probably think nothing of it.
Kids today.
So
desensitized.
Yeah, they probably think absolutely nothing of it. In fact, if anything, they probably love it.
Yeah,
but for me, I was just thinking, if I had a family, I'd just be a little bit wary of letting, you know, I don't know. I think it's just this whole thing of Doctor Who not being so, what's the word, accessible to everybody nowadays.
Right.
It's like, it's very much aiming towards a older audience. And, you know, the viewing figures have dropped off and stuff like that. And I don't know, there is good and bad, I think, in that.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think it's a fine line you have to tread. I think Moffat has got to, has definitely got to look at that a bit closer, I think, for the next series, because, I mean, also with the broadcast times as well, they're getting a little bit later on in the evenings now.
Yeah.
Because my son goes to bed at anywhere between 8 and 8:30, so he wouldn't be able to stay up to watch all of it anyway, which is a bit of a shame. I mean, in my opinion, it should be on around 6:30, 7 o'clock, maybe 6 o'clock even. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely going that way, mate. I do agree with you. It's
not just the gruesomeness though. It's also the fact that, say, if you're watching this with your son, because it's quite a complex story. I mean, we've had to sort of really talk it through and still don't really get it. Is it, you know, people do criticise the show for being too complex, and I'm thinking this is quite a good example of it, because I do actually think it's a good episode. But is it good that we're sort of moving down this road? And I can hear lots of listeners shouting, yes!
Yeah.
But in terms of the show's future as well, I'm thinking, because this is going very slightly off topic, but, you know, for example, I was in a big supermarket yesterday and there was absolutely no Doctor Who merchandise at all. And even though I know I don't expect there to be any these days, I always still look, and it's really sad because I know there's not going to be anything. But I really miss the days of going into like a big supermarket and just seeing Doctor Who everywhere.
Right.
And that just doesn't happen anymore. And it makes me a little bit sad. And it's, you know, it's just something I don't know. It's just something that I feel is a double-edged sword, because I want Doctor Who to be adult. I want it to be more gritty and darker, but I also want it to be popular and everywhere like it was. And I guess it's been around for 10 years now. It's to be expected that viewing figures will drop in and stuff like that. But it's clearly not appealing to the mass audience like it was. Because you think back to, I know Woolies has been closed for years, but you think back, you used to go in Woolies, Doctor Who would be everywhere. You'd have posters, you'd have figures, and Tesco's and all that. I used to go in, used to be Doctor Who sets. It used to be everywhere, and I used to love it. And it's just it makes it a bit sad, really, that it's tailed off. That it's becoming a more niche viewing appeal, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's the bit that gets me, I think. I wish they'd find a bit more level ground, because I don't want it to be all light and fluffy like some of the RTD stuff, although I like a lot of his stuff. But I also don't want it to be just, disappearing down its sort of... because this is quite an arty episode in many ways, isn't it? It's very... you'd have to like the show to stick with it. It wouldn't appeal to the casual viewer or to somebody, say, that sort of likes the RTD era particularly. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if I get my point across. But...
No, I know exactly and I think our listeners know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
And my thoughts on it are, this Heaven Sent, my son wouldn't have watched it to the end anyway. He would have been, he wouldn't have got it.
No.
So the potentially gruesome side of things, even taking it out of the equation, he wouldn't have watched this to the end anyway.
Right.
This would have been lost on him within 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't have watched it anyway. I know that. He hasn't watched it, but I know, 100% he would have got up and gone off and done something else 15 minutes in max.
Right.
So this wasn't aimed at kids at all. Not at all. So it is a bit of a shame. However, my other thought on it is, when we had the whole, because I think the Chris Eccleston Doctor was very much it wasn't necessarily a very dark Doctor, and I think we had moments of both, fun clowning around Doctor and slightly darker Doctor, and then they accentuated that with David Tennant. There are some episodes where he's very, very dark, and there are some episodes where it's very, very much like a Patrick Troughton episode, where it's very silly and fluffy. And I think with Matt Smith, not so much of it was the Dark Doctor.
No.
A lot of it was very much clowning around the whole time and very fun and all that sort of stuff. So I think because there was such an outcry from fans to have it more like the classic years, and slightly darker, and we want an older Doctor and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You can't, I don't think, because I didn't really want that. I just wanted it to move in a different direction. But I know that there was a massive amount of fans who wanted it more like the classic years. So we wanted a more mature Doctor, and we wanted a darker sort of thing. So we can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
If a large portion of fandom is saying to Stephen Moffat, we're kind of done with the whole childlike clowning around Doctor. We want something a bit mature and a bit darker. He's going to, that's what he's going to do. And we can't really complain too much. So I think the only time this is going to change is when we change showrunner, when they take it in a completely new direction again. So I think for now, it's a combination of having very much almost child-friendly episodes and all the fun stuff. But I think we're going to have these darker, not so much ones.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I mean, I guess in a way, I suppose I want my cake and eat it, because I love having the older Doctor, and as I say, I love Capaldi as the Doctor, and I love the darker episodes, but I just miss Doctor Who being as popular, and I miss seeing it everywhere and people talking about it like they were a few years ago. But yeah, it is a case, I suppose, of me wanting my cake and eating it. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah,
and I think it will come round again. I think it will come back round to that thing. I think it's just when Moffat departs, because I think he's with us for at least one more series.
Yes.
I think he signed on for, another 13 episodes?
Yeah, I believe so.
Something like that. So that's possibly another series and some specials.
Because he was going to bow out with this Christmas special coming up, wasn't he? And then he decided, for whatever reason, that he wanted to stay for another series. Yeah. And I think he's done a good job this series. Don't get me wrong. I think he's done a good job, but on overall, Well, I don't know. We'll see. We've still got one episode to go. But yeah, so far, I think he's done a good job.
Well, that's it, isn't it, with Who? You have to take the rough with the smooth sometimes because so far, like you say, this series has been absolutely amazing. So I don't know. You've got to keep the plate spinning.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. And it's got to change, I suppose. You can't keep, I think Moffat said about Series 7, he realised he was just churning out the same thing over and over again. You have got to change. I get that. I fear change. But no, I get it. Yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah.
Okay. So are we both in agreement that Capaldi was spot on and brilliant as always?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really got too much to say about Capaldi. It's just like we've said with the other episodes, really. It's just really great stuff from him. Loved seeing that very vulnerable against the ropes doctor. He's really up against it in this one at times, and loved seeing that snap of the fingers at the end, and he's back into his normal self. So
yeah. What did you think of him going into the storeroom and talking to Clara? And also, I want to ask you, what did you feel about Jenna Coleman being in this episode, even though we said goodbye to her last episode? Because although we mainly saw her back, we did get that scene where she, the camera pans around and she's touching the Doctor's face and she tells him to pick his ass up off the floor or whatever. And, so what did you think? Did you think it was right that we saw her again so soon after we'd said goodbye?
No, I wasn't really enamoured by that bit. I'll be honest with you. I thought it was just an almost copy of when Amy Pond turns up at the end of Matt Smith's last episode. Touches his face and gives him a nice little thing and off he goes. I thought it just didn't need to be there, really.
Would have been better if it had just been kept to having her with her back, that writing on the board. Because that's quite a nice idea, actually, of him talking stuff through and saying, why can't I lose for once and all that,
Yeah.
But yeah, it did get a bit sentimental again, and I'm not sure we needed it so soon after she left.
No, I don't think so. But I really did like that concept of just seeing the back of her. Because I almost thought, please don't turn around. Please don't turn around, because I think I was almost expecting it to be like a faceless face, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And I thought that is going to scare the hell out of me. So please don't turn around. But I found that quite eerie. She's just motionless and you see the back of her and nothing else. So they should have left it there, in my opinion.
I didn't think we were going to see it because I honestly wasn't even sure if it was Jenna. I'll be honest with you. I thought the hair didn't look right, and because we were just in the back, and I thought she's probably hasn't come back just to film these scenes with her back to him, so it's probably just someone in a Jenna wig.
I thought the exact same thing. Yeah.
In fact, I'm not even sure. Was it even? Well, it probably was her, but yeah, I didn't think we were going to see it just because of that. Because I thought, well, that's not Jenna, but we'll go with it. And then so when we did see her, I was a little bit like you, it's a bit like, oh no, but also a bit like, oh, she is there. It was a night. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think. Yeah, I think I'm with you. I probably would have been better if she'd have stayed with her back because. But yeah, it was all right. It didn't bother me too much. But yeah,
no, I agree, mate. Yeah.
And one other thing I wanted to ask you was, this is a bit like the episode itself. This is something I can't quite decide on. Murray Gold's music. I can't decide if I loved it or hated it. He was really going for it in this story. And it was a bit loud at times again, which is a common thing in Doctor Who where it drowns out the dialogue. But I don't know, there were bits of it like it's very maritime at some points. And I was thinking at times it really grated on me, although it really suited the episode. So I just don't know. I can't quite decide on Murray's music this week.
Yeah, it's strange because I love Murray Gold's music in Doctor Who. I just haven't been a massive fan of it in this series. There hasn't been I don't know, it's kind of gone a little bit generic for me. Like if I was to watch an episode, I wouldn't think, from Series 9 anyway, I don't immediately think, oh wow, Murray Gold nailed this again. There hasn't been these nice these nice bespoke themes for the characters too much. I mean, I'm sure there has been in a subtle way, but it just seems like they could have bought stock music, and I wouldn't really be able to tell the difference. It's not like going back to maybe, the epic theme that Matt Smith had that they used, to death.
Oh yeah.
And some of the really cool themes from Rose's theme and Donna Noble's theme, really varied really cool themes that they applied to these characters. In this one, I just haven't really got that feel from it. So, yeah, I love Murray Gold music, but for this series especially, I've just felt like, this could have been anybody really writing this music. I don't immediately think, well, that's Murray Gold.
It was a bizarre. Yeah, I know what you mean. He's bringing out the same old bits, but there was one bit I really liked, which was very 80s. I think it's when the Doctor goes into the room at the beginning and he sees that picture of Clara, which is all sort of crumbling away, which I really liked, by the way. There's this sort of 80s synth bit, which is very Peter Davison. I thought I really liked that, but then the rest of the episode is all very it's quite depressing, isn't it? It's like dun 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 dun, it's all that sort of stuff, and I was thinking, it was dragging me down a little bit.
Yeah,
but it kind of suited the story, so my boat is out on that one. I haven't quite decided whether I like it or not, but it was different. Yeah, it was strange.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to scores, man.
Okay.
I think it's me this week.
It is.
To go first. I'm going to give this a solid 8 out of 10.
Right, okay. Yeah, I've written 8 out of 10 as well.
Oh, cool.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I think if I'd have rated it on first watch, it would have been incredibly low. I really don't think I've ever 360'd on an episode as much as this. But there's some great ideas in it, isn't there? There's no denying. There's lots of good ideas. A great concept at the heart of this. 8.10, a good episode. I did think overall very good. And yeah, what an ending. So all good there.
All good, yeah. What did you guys think? Let's play an audio review. This is our normally cheerful chappie, Jay Kent.
Now, Heaven Sent. I want to say Heaven Sent was remarkable. I want to say it was amazing and glorious and gripping and suspenseful and emotional and amazing and scary and creepy, which it was. It 100% was all of those things, but the truth is, I don't know what went on. I mean, I understood it and followed it, even if it did take me a while at times, and it did lose me a bit, but I've come out of it a bit weird. I mean, the Veil was the creepiest and scariest monster I've seen in a long time. The solution to everything was amazing. It was timey-wimey in a good way. The design of Gallifrey was spectacular. The music was uniquely amazing, and I loved it in every way. But I don't know how to feel. I mean, I adored it, but I'm sitting here like, what? Anyway, I'm going to give it a strong 8 out of 10. Series 9 has been outstanding. Onwards to Gallifrey, boys. Even if Maisie Williams is there for some reason.
Yeah, she's got a lot of stick, I think, this series, hasn't she?
Yeah, she has.
Yeah. Cheers, Jay. Right, over to Twitter. Martin Badwilf. I thought it was awful. Nothing in it for the kids. They were bored throughout. And he's put in brackets, they as in target audience kids.
Yeah. They
were bored throughout. And I do concur, mate. It's my son didn't even watch it, but I know full well that he would have just he would have up and left short way into it. Fionn Walsh, he says, wow, good episode. Seeing Clara didn't help, as I'm still an emotional wreck after last week's episode. Let's go to Facebook. Christopher Law. What an episode. Had me on the edge of my seat for the whole 55 minutes. We've had glimpses of fantastic Capaldi throughout the series in the Zygon inversion and Face the Raven, but Capaldi really shone here. And finally, Gallifrey's back. Sonic sunglasses were pointless in this episode. When I saw him, I let out a huge sigh. Also, I didn't quite sit right with me that Clara said arse, but they're only small bugbears that I can overlook. He gave it a 9.5. That's a good point. She did drop a little mini swear word there.
Well, they have been creeping in, haven't they? We've had a lot of
bloodies
and now arse and the bitch is back, and I'm not sure it's a good thing really, but there you go.
Yeah, Joe Sweeney.
In me.
Yeah, Joe Sweeney. I thought it was a good episode. Storyline was very dark. Capaldi gave one hell of a performance. Quite shocked of the hybrid revelation. The ending was excellent with the Doctor returning to Gallifrey. Looks like we're going to be in for a great finale. Bit of disappointment, no bloody... a bit disappointed that bloody Ashilda is in it again. 7.5.
Cool.
Scott Stearns. After one viewing, I loved it. The appearance of Gallifrey was less surprising than the one that the Doctor is a hybrid himself. He's put half human again, or the eventual intermingling of Donna and Clara in his time stream.
Oh.
Interesting. Moffat definitely tipped his cap in a big way to classic Who producer Hinchcliffe in this one. Very dark and mysterious. I did wonder why he didn't pull out the sonic shades until late in the game with his confession dial. Hoping the lines from Clara about just learning to deal with loss means that we can get past his obsession with losing companions and the Time War for just a few episodes. Kieran Knight, Ruddy Nora. It offered a great performance from Capaldi and some of the best production in recent memory. However, Moffat's old tropes, such as the main character explaining how they got out of a situation through flashbacks, like in Sherlock. I thought of Adam when we were going back and forth, stopping and starting. In some scenes were distracting. And the Doctor's opening monologue just reminded me of Listen. Heaven Sent will stay in the memory for its novel premise and movie-like execution, 8 out of 10.
Yeah, that's the word I was trying to think of earlier about his old tropes. Yeah, I did when I was saying about it being a typical Stephen Moffat written episode. That's the phrase I was looking for.
Yeah, and he finishes by saying, "This week the Doctor's tearing stuff up back on Gallifrey. I can dig it." George Coppen, brilliant, loved it. Don't think this episode would have worked with any other Doctor, but Capaldi is fantastic, and what a cliffhanger! 10 out of 10. Let's go to another audio clip. This is our very bubbly listener, Loopy Lou.
Hi, Louise from Loopyland here. Personally, I think Heaven Sent is the best Capaldi episode we've had so far. The whole puzzle box plot is wonderful. You really get that sense of entrapment, and the claustrophobic nature of it really squeezes out a lot of the Doctor's raw character. I love the clockwork castle with its moving floors, kind of a bit Harry Potter. And the Doctor's TARDIS Mind Palace was a great plot device in this setting. A bit Sherlock, maybe? There are some really great lines in this. Can't I just lose? Just this once? You can really feel how broken he is at this point. And the whole, all you need for energy is something to burn line is just horrific. Horrific is a good word for this episode, as it really does have a horror feel to it. Loved it. 9 out of 10.
Cheers, Lou.
Brilliant. I'm glad, because I know Lou's not been so keen on some of this series, so I'm glad she digged this story.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Paladin of Gallifrey says, hands down, the best episode of Series 9 and possibly of New Who. Isn't often that one actor alone in a contained set can keep our interest, not to mention the plot moving. Well done, Peter. It's hard to see any other Doctor actor pulling this one off. I see a knighthood waiting. 10 out of 10. Jamie Ackerley. Wonderfully creepy, tense, beautifully filmed. Capaldi pulls the one-hander off incredibly. 10 out of 10. Lewis Palmer. In capital letters, utter rubbish. I don't think I've hated an episode this much for a very long while. Boring, convoluted mess. Monster was okay, though. I hope next week is better, because if not, we could be looking at the worst finale ever. Oh, dear.
Give it another watch, Lewis. Those were my thoughts after my first watch as well. So give it another go, mate. It might change.
Yeah. Sammy Satine. She says, wow, just wow. 10 out of 10. I love you, especially for that performance, Peter Capaldi. Bring on next week. Spence Horton. Pretentious and missing the target audience. Oh dear. Ben Smith. Awful. Trying to be artsy and clever, but it made absolutely no sense. Half of the dialogue was impossible to hear. The CGI was bad, and Capaldi talking to himself was weird. The monster was useless because it was so slow. I nearly fell asleep watching. It might, however, be the best directed episode ever. Defiantly not deserving of this garbage. 2 out of 10.
Oh dear.
Oh dear, Ben.
Actually, Ben's made me think of something which I need to ask you before we move on. Why didn't the wall room reset? You know, everything else resets, but this wall that he's bashing away at doesn't.
Because that's in room number 12.
Right.
And,
okay.
And earlier on in the episode, it does point to the fact that there's a message that he finds in the grave that says, I am in 12. So I think that's a metaphor for his escape route almost is inside himself.
Okay, I'm with you.
I could be off the ball there, but I
No,
think...
no.
Yep.
Perfect sense. And one other thing, maybe you can answer this, is the very first Doctor that arrived there, that leaves his clothes by the fire, walking around the castle naked.
Yes,
Okay, let's move on.
I assume. Right, Jeff Waddle. Here we go.
Oh.
Absolutely outstanding. The best Doctor Who episode I've seen.
My goodness, Jeff.
Jeff, you're now back on board.
To think Jeff was switching off.
Yeah.
Only when was it? Near the start of the series. So I bet I'm glad he stuck with it. I bet he is as well now.
Yeah. Stuart Wilson, a truly great episode. One thing that stood out was the music. Yeah. Quite different to what we normally have in New Who, which can be a bit melodramatic at times. Great synth nod to season 18 too. Is that what you meant, mate?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Lastly, on Facebook, Ryan Anthony, he says, "Wow, this was a really weird one. Did it live up to my expectations? Absolutely. The plot was amazing, and the fact that the Doctor had returned back to his dark, stern roots, I loved. I also liked how he kept saying Clara, and how it linked perfectly to last week's episode. Oh, and of course, the ending was the best of all time. Gallifrey falls no more, and now it returns. That's really all I can say. I love how it was very unique and intriguing. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10, okay.
Cheers, Ryan. And let's do our last audio review. This is Alex Kingdom.
Hello, Gary and Adam, and to the listeners of the Big Blue Box podcast. I want to speak up Peter Capaldi first. I think he did a fantastic job with just acting alone, because obviously the way actors work is they have something to bounce off of. Capaldi had a villain that didn't say anything, that just walked around and the building, and he did the best performance as the Doctor. Absolutely fantastic. Then we got onto the Clara scene. Now, at first when I saw her face, I was like, oh, this is burnt the bacon. She's back again, and she's going to be back next week. But no, it didn't burn the bacon. Because then I thought, Alex, it's in his head. It's fine. Well, at least that's what I got. When he was in the TARDIS, it was in his head, right? I may be wrong. Maybe. You can clarify that for me. But yeah, I like that. The villain itself was a really good villain. But the ending, I got the tissues out, guys. I'm going to be honest. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. Bye.
Right, thank you very much, Alex.
Cheers, Alex.
Got a bit emotional there, dude. That's the effect that Doctor Who has on people.
It certainly does.
Without a doubt. Anything over on Geek's Handbag, buddy?
Yeah, a couple on Geeks. Dean Jones says he loved Peter Capaldi's performance, but I genuinely don't know what to make of the story, he says. So he's a bit miffed. Emma Riley says, I didn't have a flipping clue what was going on. Okay. Helen Jones, she loves this week's episode. She says, I did think for a moment that the Moff was writing an episode of Sherlock when he introduced the Doctor's version of the Mind Palace. Yeah, I know what you mean, Helen, but she's given it she said, what a lovely surprise. She's given it 8.5 out of 10. So
cool.
She rather enjoyed it. Spence Horton, did you already read one from him?
No.
Okay, sorry, I get confused. Sometimes people comment on both, but very disappointing, Spence says. It was trying to be arty and very self-indulgent. I'm not sure they know the target audience anymore. Yeah, I was kind of, yeah. Stephen Hardy started well, bogged down in the middle, went on a bit, nearly sent me to sleep, and exploded with delight at the end. Hopefully next week's delivers on the promise, he says. Andrew Moore says, I'm really not sure what I saw last night, but it wasn't Doctor Who. It just bears no relation to the programme I love and grew up with. I don't think it is even the same show as it was during the RTD era. Moffat should leave now before he kills it off for good. So yeah, Andrew Mull, not a fan. And that, my friends, is it for the Geeks Handbag. So yeah, it's a bit of it is one of those episodes. I think it's hard to gauge, and possibly one you need to be in the mood for, and definitely one you need to see more than once, I think.
Yes, I would say so. It's definitely a second watch at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we've had that quite a bit in Series 9. We've had, like in previous series, we've either had episodes which are just unanimously hated and are not great, and we've had episodes that are, really, really good. This series, we've had episodes that are just great, and 99% of people agree. But we've had these other ones where people, literally Marmite episodes where people absolutely hate it and can't see it, can't get the point, or they absolutely love it. We're going from like 1s and 2s out of 10s to 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's all good though.
Yeah, so 8 out of 10 for you and I.
Yeah. Bizarrely, we were unanimous. Actually, yeah. That's considering what we've just said. Yeah, we both agree it was an 8 out of 10.
Yeah. So thank you very much for sending your stuff in. Before we wrap the show, we're going to announce the winner of our comp.
Yeah.
So last week we said you could be up, could be in for winning a collection of 6 paperback books, all written for Capaldi's Doctor. And thank you so much. We had loads and loads of entries on the Facebook page, which was really, really cool. But there can only be one winner.
Have we got a drum roll?
No.
Oh, I'll do one on my book. Hang on.
Go on then.
And the winner is...
Adam Peddy.
Yay! I thought you were going to say Adam Charlton. I was going to say, I can't win.
You can't
Adam
win.
Peddy. Well done, Adam.
Yeah, thank you very much. So in order to win, you had to say what your favourite story was and why. And his favourite was Vincent and the Doctor from Series 5. He said, you think the episode is amazing, as Vincent van Gogh seemed like such an interesting man, and to see him in an episode of Doctor Who was brilliant. The enemy, the Crephaeus. The Crephaeus is a scary and interesting villain, and the ending of the episode where the Doctor takes Vincent to the future art gallery is very emotional. So, nice one, Adam. We'll be in contact with you over the next couple of days just to get your deets, and we'll get them posted out to you.
Yeah, well done, Adam. There's a good set of books there.
Yeah, well done, buddy.
Enjoy reading those.
And I think we're going to wrap there, dude.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sticking with us through episode 67. It's been a real interesting one to talk through, this review. And we had some cool news as well. Hopefully Peter Jackson, director of The Hobbit, will be over to Cardiff to direct an episode of Doctor Who. Fingers crossed on that one.
Yeah.
And Heaven Sent. Very unique episode, I would say.
Yes.
In terms of the current Who situation. Looking forward to Hellbent.
I'm so looking forward to it. Yeah,
tomorrow
next
night.
Week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, trivia. Last week we asked you who reportedly told the Doctor that he looked better in a cloak, and the answer was, of course, Beau Brummel.
Oh yes.
And Kate Johnson on Facebook got that correct. Well done, Kate.
Well done, Kate.
Question for this week. There's a price on Captain Jack's head in how many solar systems? You have to go back a little bit to the old Captain Jack episodes. So, there's a price on Captain Jack's head in how many solar systems? Just send us your answer. You can do that on Twitter or Facebook. And we'll read the correct ones out next week. Rightio. Head over to the Facebook. Head over to the website, www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk, and from there you can go to Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff, and you can give us a like and a follow. You can also subscribe. It links you off to iTunes, and you can do that through your phone and whatever you like. And also remember to check out Adam's channel on YouTube, The Geek's Handbag.
Yep, got a little TARDIS Money Box review going up this week.
Yes.
It's quite good fun.
Looking forward to that one. So check out Adam's videos. You're also on Facebook, aren't you? Check out the Facebook channel.
Oh, I'm everywhere.
You're
I'm
everywhere, mate.
All social media.
Of course. So, until next week, my name's Gary.
And my name's Adam.
And remember, Lonzi!